Dr. Patrick as he joins us for this session. Thank you. Also joining us for this conversation, he just made a submission a while ago. He is the Chief Business and Corporate Solutions Head at the Bank of Kigali, Levi Gasangwa. Also joining us for this particular session is the Head of Business Development at the Development Bank of Rwanda, BRD PLC, Jean-Claude Iribone. Let's also put our hands together for the Chief Executive Officer, Tri-Seeds Company Limited, Safari Jean Bosco. And finally, let us put our hands together for the Deputy Chief of Party, CNFA, Hingawunguke. She's Dr. Jolie Dusawe Folta. Yeah, I'd request we take this off. Two, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah. Okay. So like we did yesterday, I want this session to be as engaging as it can be. We've all listened to the submissions of the speakers earlier. You also came all the way with your questions and areas that you'd like to get some interventions on when it comes to the issue of affordable financing for the seed value chain sectors. And I think everything is anchored on policy, and I've had this as a situational issue in terms of when there is the right policy, then everything else moves in very well. So I want to start off with DJ Patrick, just for us to make some sense of the policy environment, the governance environment, in terms of creating deliberate aspects that would be able to drive those within the sector, the financing sector, to actually deliberately act in the area of availing affordable financing for those within the agribusiness space. What is it like?
Thank you, Eugene. Yes, from the policy perspective for agriculture policy and our strategy for transformation of the agriculture sector, we encourage or facilitate access to finance, investment in agriculture, especially through de-risking the agriculture sector. So the finance institutions, stakeholders, tend to be reluctant to invest in agriculture due to fear that it is loss of money, that upon giving the finance, that people will fail because of drought, or fail because of too much rain, or for some other unpredictability of agriculture. So we, in our policy and sector strategies, implementation projects, we develop irrigation schemes that offer more comfort about the eventuality of lack of rain. And we also promote and support financially projects for protected agriculture system environment, like greenhouse production, where you have controlled environment, the agriculture sector provides matching grants through partners. You don't come to look for the money at the ministry. You go to our partners who are here, but they will tell you that they get it from Minagri.
Yeah.
We also, the fear of investing in agriculture is also addressed, mitigated with insurance that the Ministry of Agriculture, government through the Ministry of Agriculture, provides subsidy on agriculture insurance. The farmers can have including the seed producers, can have the business insured with the subsidy of government for 40% subsidy. So there are many other interventions that we can further elaborate, including increased access to finance that partners here will elaborate, but which also originate from the government through the Ministry of Agriculture, such projects, but they have other things that they do intervention.
Yeah.
Through, besides that, even later we can elaborate, but we do also support through research, through the Rwanda Agriculture Board. The farmers can access crops that are more, are less risk averse, that can do better in terms of drought tolerance, cope better with unpredictability or predictability of environment. All this is to support, to encourage, to de-risk the agriculture sector and to cast out the fears that the finance guys have to invest in agriculture.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be coming back to integrate that more, just to be able to understand if we are to have a scorecard on that or those interventions, what would we be able to report back? I want to go to Levy. Levy, this is the second time you're sponsoring this, Congress. And in your presentation, you also did mention how Bank of Kigali is actually investing or financing farmers in that particular aspect. But there's more that can be done. Why is that more not being done from a banker's perspective, from a financial's perspective? What's holding back financial institutions that you feel the people in this room today should be able to know so that they can be able to work on for them to have access to finance easily?
Thank you, Eugene. I think you're quite right. More can be done. The biggest impediment to scaling up the financing are due to the fact that we want to manage our risks in the most efficient way so that we don't destroy value. In doing so, one of the biggest challenges, as I mentioned during the presentation, if we want to finance the larger base of the agricultural sector, we need to go and deep dive into the needs of the smallholder farmers. The biggest problem is, as being illustrated in the last FinScope report, only 22% of Rwanda's adult population is banked in what we call traditional banks. To put things into perspective, 22% is just 1.8 million people out of 3.8 million which are actually actively involved in agriculture. So one of the solutions, and we are looking for, is how do we digitize the journey of the agribusiness farmer, keeping in mind two big obstacles. Number one, financial illiteracy and digital usage rate, which is low, encumbered by very low access to internet. Internet costs is still a reality. Only 14% of the population have access to internet because of that reason. Much has been done recently to increase access, but we want the bank to work on a solution where we zeroize those digital platforms. And we want a business model which enables us just to charge the transaction to a very small degree. And then once we can map use their proceeds to pay just the bank, we want a win-win situation. So in doing so, we want to have a digital solution for two reasons. To lend not just to the masses, but also to reduce the turnaround time. Because once you apply for a loan and it takes a lot of time in an industry which is highly seasonal, you disrupt the whole process.
Yeah.
So this is the approach from the bank. We are partnering with one of our subsidiaries, the BK Tech House. We actually have data on 3 million farmers. The biggest problem is how do we monetize those data? That's the biggest question. I will delve into that more later on. But right now, the solution is how do we mitigate the risk through a better mapping of the credit history.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting hearing it from you, Levi, when you are one of the financial institutions talking about the challenge being interest rates. And the farmers would be feeling we are the ones who should be saying this is a challenge. How is it that Levi, with the powers within the Rwanda Bankers Association, is also saying this is a challenge? Levi, if you're saying that, what should the farmers say?
So I want to extend my my sincerest appreciation for the central bank, which actually has done a lot in customer education. And we wanted to debunk some of the myth of why the interest rate is so high.
Yeah.
It is not high because of bank necessarily looking for margin. It is high because the savings relative to the GDP is only 26%. The savings is low. It drives the interest rates high because everybody who has a savings wants a very high deposit rates. And this is how the banks fund our portfolio. So in responding to that issue, we partnered with BRD. I'm sure Jean-Claude is going to expand on that, to have interest subsidies. It has helped quite tremendously, and it has contributed to the growth of our agricultural portfolio because more people had access to finance because of that. We're talking about a reduction of the interest rate for almost 10%, which is quite significant, and in some extent 6% when it comes to export.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to have this mechanism, cheap funds, that can be easily deployed to more people. Because if we use the traditional routes of lending in prevailing market rates, we are actually infringing the access to financing.
Let me let you off the hook for now and talk to Jean-Claude. Jean-Claude, farmers are saying this is our money. and it's becoming difficult for us to get our money to actually fund what feeds all of us, including those within the financial institution. What's happening within BRD in this conversation around interest rates, short-term loans, collateral issues? What's going on in that space from where you sit?
I think a lot has been, is being done. I will start by saying, actually, as BRD, we are much focusing on agriculture financing as one of our priority sectors.
Yeah.
And we have a couple of solutions or product facilities that we are providing on the market to make sure that we try to address the issue of access to finance. So actually I use the word affordable financing. So we see it in two perspectives. There's affordable in terms of cost, because probably that's a challenge number one. Two, there's also in terms of patient money, in terms of tenor. So, and third is actually even the proper facility or proper product that we are offering, especially on farmers. So we have done some quite a good job, and we are seeing actually some fruits out of it. I think my colleague Levi was talking about it. So we have actually now two approach where we can do direct lending, where actually farmers can approach BRD directly to access the financing. But also we said let's now extend, because as BRD alone we can't sustain the financing in terms of agriculture financing in the country. So we are also providing financing to financial institutions. So currently we have close to 16 financial institutions that we are working with, including SACCOs, MFIs, and even banks, commercial banks. Actually, BK is one of the key partners that we have. So we are actually providing financing that is affordable in all aspects, in terms of cost of financing, in terms of the tenor, but also we partner with BDF to also provide the guarantee, because I saw that one of the challenge. So we have different products. Currently we have a product that we call CDAT. That is actually providing financing to farmers for primary agriculture, including even seed multiplication. So we provide the financing at 8%, so which is quite really a significant change in the market if you compare with probably the average interest rate on the market, which is around 17%. So you could see that is also a game changer in terms of cost of financing. But also we are providing a more longer tenor, so they can get, depending on the crop, and the cash flow, you can even go up to 10 years, with also a grace period of up to 3 years, which actually that also was the challenge. You could see sometimes we were lending to farmers, but we actually start asking them to pay back why they haven't even started harvesting. So, so that was a challenge. And as I said, at the same time, we also partner with BDF to provide collateral. So I think that's one of the product that we have seen actually improving in terms of providing access to finance that are really affordable to the farmers. But again, we have other products that we have been providing, some of them interest subsidy, that we're actually trying to boost or push to some of the value chains, where we could provide interest subsidy, probably client who could get financing in a commercial bank at probably 16%, maybe provide an interest subsidy of half the price, then you could service the loan at 8%, and the other part is taken over by the bank. So, and all those are actual mechanisms that we are putting in place to make sure that we make the financing available to the farmers. We also recently started the green financing, so which you have had the launch of IREME facility, which is also one of the key areas that we are targeting is also climate smart agriculture. So which we could easily finance at affordable terms. For instance, seeds that are, drought resilient, that are, disease resilient, so they could access the financing at a very affordable being interest rate, but also be able to get sufficient tenor. But at the same time, also they can get a cover in terms of collateral, the guarantee, up to 70%. So there's so many are also coming up. Actually, we are now trying to also to cater for the small and micro farmers, of course, through the financial institutions that we're working with, through mainly microfinance institutions and SACCOs. That's actually a project that we're working with MasterCard to create a digital platform where a farmer can actually apply for facility loan directly without going to the SACCO and all those, and actually it's going to save in terms of the time, the TAT, turnaround time, but also it's going to be affordable in terms of cost of financing, but also in terms of tenure. So I would say there is a lot that is being done.
Yeah.
So for me, I strongly have confidence that agriculture financing it has been a challenge in the past, but I think going forward it's not going to be a challenge.
A big challenge.
Yeah.
If anyone has been listening since we started, from Deje to Levi and to yourself, they might see, there's no problem. Everything looks so rosy, all is well. But I want to hear from John Bosco, because John Bosco, you're an entrepreneur yourself, and without being diplomatic, what has been your experience knocking the doors of those with the money when you want financing?
Yeah, thank you so much, moderator. And actually, based on my experience in this agriculture sector, which is more than 20 years, in different parts of the value chain, I would like to emphasize on risks associated with agriculture. It's a value chain that has more than 14 or 15 players. Here we are talking about seed value chain financing. Seed value chain financing is different with agriculture value chain financing. Because seeds, the end of seed value chain is the start of the agriculture value chain. Because the seed, it's an input. And then input in agriculture as a seed, which is crucial, it is being associated with fertilizers, with pesticides, and the others. So the challenges that are associated with agriculture, the normal agriculture, sometimes are a bit different with the seed value chain actors' challenges. If you talk on ourselves like a seed company, we're starting from production, working with the outgrowers. Those outgrowers, they need also seeds, which are basic seeds, and the fertilizers, and also pesticides, and also other associated activities related to seed production.
Yeah.
It means what the outgrowers needs, it is different with what the farmer needs. Yes, we understand that there's some risks like weather, which is a problem. There's also risk of price volatility on the side of producers. Because producers, they produce food as you produce seeds. So for seed producers, price volatility is not an issue because the price is already fixed in the beginning of starting that business. And you have a pre-farming contract with the seed company you are working with. Then for us who are seed companies, we need finance to pay those outgrowers at their harvest. But for us who have started that business since the planting period, we'll need to wait not only after harvesting, but also processing and marketing so that we can get money to repay back the loan we have received from the financial institutions. So it means what is needed in a financial, in agricultural financing is first of all to understand which segment are you going to finance. Because the agro-dealer is a player in the value chain, but the agro-dealer needs a working capital only for 3 or 2 months to just providing input at the time to the farmers. But as are the city companies, we need at least 24 months to pay back because we pay outgrowers, we process, then we market. We also wait the government to pay subsidies so that we also can pay back. So it's a challenge. Those challenges are different with other producers who are producing, harvesting, drying, and sell. That can take like 7 months or 8 months.
Yeah.
So what is needed is having products that are well tailored to the seed, to the value chain players in the segmentation that can be determined according the discussions that can come through the discussions like these ones. So what I can add on this is that there's also risk mitigation as the DG highlighted, like increasing infrastructure in irrigation, like putting in place agriculture insurance. That should be a risk mitigation that can also ease banks to deal with that fear of investing in agriculture. Actually,
what more would you want from DG? What more would you want from Levy? What more would you want from Jean-Claude? If you were to speak on behalf of agri-seed farmers.
Yes, speaking on behalf of all agriculture players.
Yes.
So what we need is to have a well-tailored product, not only one product that can fit all, because the challenges are totally different. So going deep, looking at the segmentation of the agriculture value chain, and have products that can handle issues. It depends on the value chain.
Yeah.
The other thing is, if you look at the agriculture financing, the major challenge, because as I said, there are smallholder farmers who are capable to work with the SACCOs and the other microfinance there. There are also medium farming institutions and companies. There are also large companies. So those also, their needs are different. So what you need is they are the tailored products. Second, we need, because all finances, or farmers or other players, they complain about interest rates. As they said, my colleagues, interest rate in Rwanda vary from 16, and it can reach even to 36 if it comes to microfinances. And if you look at agriculture, their investment in the margin that farmers or other players are getting, and that's interest rate. So you fail at the start. So we need also to discuss on, as the risks are being mitigated. Also, banks to look at the interest rate and how they can be eased so that facilitate farmers. What I can conclude is, so farming should not be taken as the risk, agriculture as the risk, but also taken as an opportunity for growth and innovation to develop the country.
Yeah. Levy and Jean-Claude, he was a bit more diplomatic. What he was saying is you do not understand them. He just didn't want to say that. Come up with products which, you think you know what they want, but you really don't know. I'll come to you to actually do a rejoinder to that. But let me bring in Dr. Joly, because from where you sit, you work a lot with, grassroots farmers pushing for productivity, pushing for access to loans. When you put your ear on the ground and you're listening to these farmers, what more are they saying if you're to amplify their voices to this forum today on the issue of access to finance, affordable finance?
Moderator, and I am very happy to provide the very needed gender balance for this panel. And so I work with Hinga Wongoke, and Hinga Wongoke is a Feed the Future Rwanda activity sponsored by the USAID. And one of the focus of the activity is to increase income, improve nutritional outcomes through sustainably increasing agricultural productivity. I think BK has really highlighted some of the issues, and one of the issues is increasing productivity at the farm level. And what Hinga Wongoke is doing together with the partners is making sure that we develop interventions that are focused on ensuring access to very high quality inputs and also access to markets, access to finance. And we are using a very interesting model, which is a market systems development model, which means that we are partnering with different actors in the agricultural system space to ensure that we equip them, especially the private sector companies, so that we equip them to be able to lead the transformational change that we need on the ground. So if I talk about private sector companies, especially at the production level, Hinga Wongoke is partnering with companies that are seed producers, agro-dealers, service providers, and other companies along the value chains. And the model helps us to focus on just a few value chains. So coming back to your question, what are we hearing? I think that the questions around access to finance, especially inclusive finance for farmers and SMEs, especially in rural areas, are known, and we have been talking about them. Collateral, the issue of cash flows, the issue of access to information. There are so many things that BK and other banks are working on, and we have heard them today, BRD, but is this information available at the farm level?
Do you think it is?
Pardon?
Do you think it is available?
It is not available to all, or by the time they even get access to that information, so much has already happened that maybe even the finances are almost finished. But what I wanted to say, and I think Jean Bosco has really said it very well, is that these challenges that we see, when you come to the level of seed production, they are very magnified. If you when you look at maybe collateral, for example, seed producers require significantly and relatively higher investment into their activities. And so what that means, if they need a loan, they will need a higher loan associated to greater collateral, and which many of them might not have. I think that Jean Bosco has also highlighted the issue of cash flows. If I have to wait for more than a year to get income from my activities, what kind of loan repayment products do I need? I think we had good news from BRD. If we have products that have a 3 years grace period, I think that's really good news. And when we really, in my opinion, and the way we have really been working with different financial institutions, in my opinion, there's really much to be done in understanding the agriculture cycles and what is needed.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that BK has said now they're turning agronomists into bankers,
Yeah.
which means that because agriculture is very complex, and understanding the products that are associated to it is very complex.
Yeah.
And of course, we also know that there are other issues on the demand side. The farmers, agribusinesses don't have no, some of them have no clue how banks work. There's inadequate literacy, business skills, and of course the big issue of climate change. All of those are what we're working with. And there is so much that is already being done. If I think about what AGRA has done through Terimbuto Nziza, in terms of improving the domestic seed systems in the country and mentoring and supporting a number of private sector companies that are now seed producers and are bankable, I already see a very present pipeline for financial institutions. And looking back to what Hingawongoke is doing today, I think that Levi mentioned it, the partnership with Hingawongoke and BK is really supporting the development of unique, innovative, and commercially sustainable products that respond to the needs of farmers.
Yeah.
That process is already ongoing. But we are also working on the supply side. We have partners that are already mentoring businesses that will be a pipeline for this, from these banks and financial institutions. We're working with SACCOs, microfinance institutions, both on the supply and the demand side.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for the interesting submissions. I'm going to give Levi and Jean-Claude a chance to rebuttal what we heard from Jean Bosco, but I want to ask first Deje here. Deje, I know when most of us saw on this program the topic of access to affordable financing, there are two key things they knew we would talk about because they are obvious. First of all, access to finance in itself. Secondly, the issue of collateral. Is there a time when these two things will never be part of our talking points in such a conversation? Where can policy play a role? I mean, where you sit, because we are tired of hearing this.
Access to finance and what?
And collateral issues.
And collateral.
Yes.
Well, yeah, there's nothing you will ever get without working hard anyway. I think there's somewhere some faith books say that if you have more, you will get more. And if you have nothing, what will happen?
It will take it away from you.
Nothing. So we shouldn't try to cheat ourselves that we are just get it from falling without laboring for it.
Mm-hmm.
So we mustn't try to lie to our farmers that they don't have to work hard to get it. So they have to put effort into the doing the right farming practices. The more you do the right thing, the higher the chance you have to access to this.
Mm-hmm.
I take the opportunity to inform everyone that we are having the National Agriculture Show, which is starting tomorrow, where we showcase the technologies and innovations in agriculture. Banks are also there, and many other innovations in agriculture. It is linked together. You access to finance, but you also use the right best farming practices, innovations, the right seeds, the right fertilizers. Then you also have, gives you increased access to finance because you generate more from your farming.
Mm-hmm.
And the banks get more confidence when they see that your numbers are adding up well.
Yeah.
So the issue of collateral is policy-wise, about probably BDF. I don't know if BDF is represented here, which really tackles the guarantee issue, especially for the farmers and the youth. And besides that, when I spoke about the projects with government, like this CIDAT. It's not only CIDAT. There are many other projects. CIDAT is a 300 million USD project that the government has availed for supporting farmers to increase access to finance, use more technology and innovations. Other projects are also like PSAC project, which is promoting export, SAIP, and many more. So the government continues to conceive and develop design projects that really address the issue of collateral and access to finance, but at the same time, training our farmers to produce more sustainably and more reliably, going more innovation-wise. All this work together to increase access to finance, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Levy, in your rebuttal to what we heard from John Bosco, do you think financial institutions are misunderstood by farmers? What are the areas that you feel, you want to set the record straight? What interventions have you made in that area of collateral that you feel those in the room who want to look for that money from you should be able to know today?
Thank you, Eugene. I totally agree with Jean Bosco. I think we are approaching this problem with a certain level of humility, but also looking, we are not looking backward. It's true that historical banks were pretty much reluctant to lend to agric businesses. And that's the main problem, because most of the time they were not agric businesses. They were subsistence enterprise. They were small, they kept being small, and if you look at how much they were borrowing, it actually improved. They used to borrow at 5% per month, which is 60% per annum. And they managed to get through, but they were not able to grow. So what we are saying, let's be forward-looking. Right now, I'm approaching this problem now from a vantage point of optimism. DG, what he mentioned was very true. Government of Rwanda has done a tremendous effort in having a vision of growing agric businesses, full-fledged businesses, which are predicated not only to eradicate food insecurity, but actually to produce and also export. To contribute to that effort, the financing needs to be geared up to the reality. To build those companies, we believe that you cannot just build them with debt. I truly believe that eventually we need to come into the perspective of equity. Building up equity requires that business to be profitable for a long time so that those funds are reinvested in the company, and eventually the companies can merge and propel and be able to inject their own funds. So what are the solutions that the bank came up with?
Yeah.
So there was a solution of high interest rate. As you mentioned, the commercial de-risking for agricultural transformation, CDAT, enable company to borrow up to 600 million at 8% per annum. And if they want more, they could blend with the banks, and with blending the financing, they could go even up to still 12%, which is still attractive. And more importantly, the problem of collateral is also addressed by having portfolio guarantees. Indeed, BDF cannot cover you more than 500 millions, but the Development Financing Corporation, DFC, we can cover up to $40 million. That's a beginning. Long-term fund, it used to be a problem because we don't have long-term savings, and we need to lend to 5 to 10 years for the mechanization, the irrigation projects, the asset-based financing. We have now the European Investment Bank enable us to lend $50 million, Rwandese franc equivalent, to more than 5 years. This is one of the solutions. Lastly, and I think we don't emphasize it enough, is that we have incredible support in terms of technical assistance. Incentives, company, I think they are represented here, such as Aseli, incentivize banks to lend more, to enable women-led businesses, youth enterprise, because let's not forget that almost 50% of our population are considered youth, and they are the future of this country. So we don't want to have for another 50 years subsistence farming, which just only catered for the small family units.
Yeah.
We want to build businesses that are actually going to increase the crop yield per acre. The example I gave earlier, in Kenya, it has been done. Maize farms in Kenya are 30% yield higher than what we have in Rwanda. So we can adopt those best practices, education, technology adoption is what we need to invest in so that we can feed not only the people. Look, Eugene, this country used to be 30 years ago, 7 million people. It's now 14.5 up to the latest forecast.
Yeah.
The land has not
Increased.
increased.
Yeah.
So we need those agro parks, we need those businesses, we need all these investment, and more importantly, we need equity.
Yeah. Thank you for that suggestions. Solutions, Jean to Claude. What solutions are you looking at in those areas? And when you look at yourselves in the mirror as financial institutions, even on behalf of your peers, when you look at that mirror, what do you say you need to work on, you need to change as financial institutions yourselves? Just one thing.
I think we need to when we are talking about the access to finance, especially in agriculture, we need also to look at the whole ecosystem. So probably we have put in place some affordable financing. We are trying to, address the issue of, collateral and so on. But also we need to understand, actually, we are also still learning as financial institutions. So I think my colleague was saying that probably we are getting financing, but not the proper financing that we are supposed to get.
Yeah.
I would say probably that's because of maybe some gaps on the side of financial institutions that also we need to continue improving. I think my colleague Levy was saying that we are actually turning agronomists into financiers. So we are actually trying also to build our skills, internal skills, to be able to understand the value chains throughout from downstream to upstream. So to make sure that whatever we are offering, we understand. But again, on the side of the farmer also, there's also a lot to be done in terms of them understanding what actually banks are looking for us to be able to communicate, to say the same language. So sometimes you meet with a farmer, they don't have records, past records. So whatever they are trying to explain, it's actually in abstract. So there is no actually, and that's where sometimes the worries from the financial institution come from. So I think we should always continue looking into the ecosystem and be able to see how the progress we are making. Talk of the market linkages, there's still also some challenges that we need to fix. I might be willing to finance a certain cooperative somewhere, but if I don't have a visibility in terms of where they're going to sell, what they have been doing in the past. It
becomes difficult.
It becomes a problem. And then that's how we usually find agriculture projects, usually said more risky. But in the real sense, it's actually the information that is not going through efficiently.
Yeah, Dr. Jolie mentioned that. It also comes from you financial institutions as well. So I think we need to work on this collectively. I want to open up the floor, just 2-3 questions. If you have any specific question, please direct it to the person you want to respond to it. If it's a general question, please also mention that. Just 1, 2, 3 questions, and then we'll close this session. Just raise your hand up. The microphones are on standby for you. Any comments, feedback, areas of intervention that you like to bring up? Yeah, I like this. It was intense. It was self-explanatory, yeah? There's a question here. So just let's provide the mic there.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone. My name is Serafino Zamshaka. I work for International Potato Center as an agronomist. I've been working with farmers And during this National Seed Congress, we've been talking about different topics and having different discussions, but I didn't hear anyone talking about how to fight against this food waste. You know, yesterday in the discussions we had, I was hearing people saying that it takes like 16 years to have from a seed to a plate on the table, like the food we are eating. Then when you visit the market, I've been visiting a lot of market in the country. You see that you can go buy, let's say an example, vegetables. And when you're looking for a kind of vegetables you can't get, but when you look in the dustbin, you find it thrown there. I don't know, maybe it doesn't mean that that vegetables is not wanted, but there isn't a way of keeping that vegetables, maybe to a longer shelf life, I don't know. But we really, really need to work on this because we are producing we are getting a lot of yield because of using these good agronomic practices, but when you go to the market, you realize that a bit, maybe let's say like a quarter of what we are producing is getting wasted as maybe rotten, as a lack of way of keeping those products. So my question was, maybe I will address it to Dr. Jolie and Dr. Patrick as some of the policy makers in our country. What are you thinking about this? This is like one of the limitations that is limiting some of the investors. We don't have enough way of keeping this production we are getting. So if there is no way of keeping them, some people will like stand on their feet, like get back a bit if they want to invest in maybe horticultural product because there is no way of protecting the production.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Seraphine.
you.
Thank you. One more question, and then we can respond to both together. Yes, there's a hand here.
Yeah, thank you, moderator. Mine is a question and a comment which is related to policy. There is this financial assistance, actually, which is very readily available from the government. It's called Hunganire in our local language. Or it's a kind of farm subsidy for inputs. So this is really doing, wonders in improving productivity for smallholder farmers who don't have that access to big finances and so on. But I want to relate this to what you are talking about yesterday, about seed imports versus local production. As far as I know, this subsidy is only accessible to locally produced seeds by local seed companies, mostly. At the same time, yesterday we were talking so much about seed quantity, quite a lot, but quality is still wanting. I mean, there are some limitations. And we saw that one way of improving actually quality is through competition. And as one of the presenters said yesterday, maybe the government or the police should consider introducing, they are calling it foreign genetics. That is in terms of, seed from outside the companies. But when it comes to subsidy, again, I may be corrected. Seed from outside is not accessing that subsidy. And then there is these regional policies of, intra-trade, regional trade, and so. So, do we see any time soon when we could open up so that you have really competitive local seed industry for both local companies? And that's my, maybe Deje Karango and maybe you could.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. One more? Go ahead. There's a microphone there, please put it on. Could you give him another one?
Morning to everyone. My name is Samuel Nkurunziza, a farmer from Northwest region of our country. My question is about the seeds, especially potatoes. That is the plant that we grow in our region. Today, the shortage of seeds is a very issue that the farmers are facing, because when you go to the market to get a quantity of certified seed is a very big problem, even if the price of that seed are not affordable for the farmer. 1 kg is more about $1, $1 US. And how can we afford that price? That is very high. And my question is, you would be specialized on the Village Patrick Karangwa. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's take those 3 questions as we also give our thoughts as we conclude this particular conversation. Deje, you want to start off?
Yes, I think most of the questions are related to my portfolio, but the colleagues can supplement later. Okay, let me start with the question of from Augustine. That was about we subsidize local seed production. How about the imported ones, which we don't subsidize and which might have better quality or genetics? Okay, the subsidy that we give to local and do not give to imported ones doesn't mean that if the foreign investor, when they come to Rwanda, we subsidize as well. So what we don't subsidize is shipping the seed from the foreign countries to here when it is for staple, when it is the food security seed. So we banned the importation of seed for maize, for instance, but we subsidize the local production. So if it is a foreign company that is wanting to produce seed here in Rwanda, we subsidize, we support that you come and produce it. But we don't subsidize shipping it, putting it on the ships and whatever trucks to bring it here for our farmers to depend on shipment. So that must be clear. We subsidize even foreign investors who come to produce it locally. But we don't close the borders to bring the seed from outside the country. You can bring it, also sell it here, but without our support. If it's at your cost, no problem. So, and if you can sell it competitively, so you will have to sell at like 2 or 3 times more expensive than the one who is subsidized to produce locally. So you see how it works. And to the farmer, Nkurunziza, about the potato seed. Yes, potato is a particularly, it's a crop where much more effort has to be done when you compare, for instance, with maize. Maize, where we have got tremendous achievement, where we are even exporting the seed now, started to see the export of maize. But the more effort has to still to be done for potato in particular, which is Well, it's quite multifaceted, the challenge for potato seed. There is also and you have already mentioned that, alluded to that, the uptake or the adoption or the willingness, the actual demand. So the farmers who are ready, willing to pay for the seed, that is the first thing to address. So you are speaking from a farmer perspective. If there is a potato seed producer here, sitting here, he can speak. That they have the seed, but you farmers are not coming to buy from them. So it's not a problem, it's not mostly a problem of availability, because someone in the room may raise the hand and say, why don't you come to buy for me? So it's mostly a problem of thinking that it is expensive than it's a problem of availability. And you are saying that the seed, 1 kilogram of seed is $1 USD. In Rwanda francs, that is how much? 1,300
and something, yes.
How much is a potato for table being bought? It's around what?
600.
600 in some places, 700 or more. So now, listen to the challenge of our farmers that you have to educate really. The farmer wants the seed price to be bought at the same price as the one he used for cooking. And this is wrong. It's totally wrong. The seed must be more expensive than what is for consumption. Because it requires more quality. It is more demanding to produce. They invest more, and it has to be more expensive. It mustn't be extremely expensive. We don't expect it to be like 2-3 times more expensive, but it is no way going to be the same price as the consumption one. And if that thinking is still there, the problem will still remain. So it's part of education. And this thinking is mostly with subsistence farmers. You will not hear that from commercial farmer that the seed potato is expensive. Because the higher the quality, the more the price. We just don't expect it to be multiple times expensive.
Yeah.
Yes, I hope it's clear.
Thank you. I want to start with Dr. Jolie as we come this way. In your closing remarks, you can feel free to add your
Didn't
voices.
answer the post-harvest, but
Yes, we're coming as you respond. Yes. So as we come this way, you respond to some of the questions as you give your closing remarks.
Great, thank you. I think Uzamu Shaka really asked a very valid question. If we are investing in increasing productivity, in linking farmers to markets, and we are losing close to 30% of what we produce, either through food loss or waste, then we are really failing at our mission. What I can say about some of the interventions that we are investing in is that we are working with farmers. Let me take, for example, horticulture producers, because that is they produce some of the crops that have a very short shelf life. So what we're looking at is promoting innovations that will help increase the shelf life of the produce that we produce. You could think about cold rooms or cold transport, but we're also looking at forming partnerships with logistics companies so that the produce is quickly being taken to the market, because I think we lose time there for produce that is perishable. But we will all agree that it will be inevitable, for example, in the markets that there will be some form of loss. And so we're looking at interventions that maybe look at composting, getting the produce from the market and composting and recycling it back to the farmers and to increasing productivity. So that is what I can respond in Zamu Shaka's question. But just as closing remarks, it's really important that we explore new areas that help us to improve inclusive financing. And it's been amazing today to hear about digital financing, and we know that that is one product that is going to really help us reach some of the smallholder farmers that would otherwise be unbankable. So really a focus on really understanding the value chains and the needs and increasing the products that respond to different value chains will be important. But also thinking about climate resilience or making our food systems more resilient, we really need to also be investing in smart, climate-smart seeds and seed varieties. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean Bosco?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Starting from the question from the farmer about the Irish potato seeds. Actually, DG highlighted it. The Irish potato seed challenge is that it has been informal for long. Farmers are sharing some seeds. They don't even have a certified seed. They have a quality declared seed because they are not certified because there is no value chain of producing them. So we have been requested to try investing in a Irish potato production, but we found that it's not protected. You can produce seeds because the farmers are familiar with their farm safety seeds.
Yeah.
You don't get grant. So I think it is being improved, and investors will be attracted by having that value chain well structured. And what I can say is that farmers sometimes they confuse food and the seeds. Seeds does not need to be seen as a cost to pay it, but the value that is bringing. Because if you plant 1 kg of maize, it brings you 30 kgs of food. So you can't compare the prices of food and the price of seeds. Looking at what my colleague Augustine was saying, I got surprised because Augustine is a breeder. He should be protecting the breeds he did in Rwanda instead of opening doors to be competed by other breeders outside. So actually what we need from our colleagues like Augustine is to help the local seed companies how they can improve quality and compete on international market instead of also encouraging the importation. So by concluding, maybe for my sister there from SIP, I raised something which is very important. As I said, the agriculture has many actors in the value chain. What she was saying, it was post-harvest handling, which should be also be part of financing. When we come to cold rooms, come to transportation, packaging, and whatever, looking at food safety instead also against the food security. So concluding on my point, when we talk about financing, I will conclude by saying that our financial institutions need also to invest in educating farmers to improve creditworthiness of our farmers, because sometimes there's a mislink of information. What the banks said and what the players in the value chain needs, there's no clear. So using technologies, availing information, using the loan application processes, it will help us to improve our financial sector. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Jean-Claude, just very briefly.
Thank you, Eugene. Mine actually in the perspective of BRD, I would say a lot has changed completely. If you compare 5 years ago and today, so you see banks, because we actually have privilege of working with almost all banks and financial institutions. So you could see they are setting up Unity specifically for agriculture, which was not there before. And those actually are the team that are going now to be specialized in agriculture financing, to be able to understand the sector. They are doing, developing strategies for agriculture financing, almost banks that we are actually engaging with on a daily basis. So I believe that we are actually in the right direction. But again, I will emphasize that we should see affordable financing. Whenever we're talking about affordable financing, let's see it in the whole ecosystem, not as just one activity on its own.
Thank you. Levi?
Thank you, Eugene. I think we are very excited in Bank of Kigali, not only to sponsor this event and really partnering with the National Seed of Rwanda. We are also very excited in participating into the development of this and the modernization of this sector by lending effectively to the players and to become their preferred bank. And in doing so, I'm very optimistic because, as Jean-Claude mentioned, for the first time in a long time, all planets are aligning. We are seeing an ecosystem taking shape And Jean Bosco said it very well. We want to continue to have empathy and to listen intently to our partners, to our clients, and we are partnering with USA to build tailor-made products, and sometimes we build them in such a way that it fits the bank's purposes, but we want a win-win relationship. And those products, we see the feedback from them. We're going to refine them, and so that it comes into maturation. All in all, we want to grow this sector to the 30 at $150 million equivalent, and who knows, even double that number subsequently. Thank you, Eugene.
Thank you. Thank you. Deje, you have the last word. Conclusion and yeah.
Okay, thank you. So to conclude is to remind that remind all of us that seed is the most important input in agriculture. That it starts with good seed. No matter whatever else you do, if you start with wrong seed, everything is dead. So the finance, as we are on the panel of finance, it is very important that finance institutions look at seed in much more specific lenses, that the seed is the foundation for whatever else. Where else in agriculture they are looking forward to business in finance, put more emphasis, priority with good seed. And also for the farmers likewise, use of good seed is their prime for success. And as government, we will continue to support through the different projects, interventions, but also through the research and innovation, the better seed, higher yielding seeds, and climate resilient seeds. Our friend about the post-harvest losses, there's a lot that the government has done into like mobile dryers that help to reduce post-harvest losses. Losses actually have reduced markedly when you look over like past 10 years. For some crops, it has been halved or reduced by 2/3 the levels that we used to have. Efforts will continue to minimize to the minimum, if not eradicate. But at least the effort is promising, and more, especially for the perishables, still are very high. Losses for those like tomatoes and what are still high, but for like maize and so forth, with the drying technology, it has been reduced very markedly, and the effort will continue in this regard.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's appreciate our panelists, please. It's just the beginning. That conversation doesn't end here, and feel free to engage each of them and any other partner within the financial institution space for us to be able to get some answers that we were not able to discuss due to time constraints. We're going to take a very short health break. Please feel free to grab a tea or coffee and then come back in, because we have another interesting session on improving Rwanda's agriculture value chains, competitiveness, and trade. Thank you very much for being part of this session.